Elaine, can you call roll, please?
Mayor Riggle?
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Keller?
Here.
Chairman Schaefer?
Here. Second item on the agenda is approval of the motion summary for the meeting of the Public Works Public Utilities Committee held March 1st, 2016, as recorded and transcribed.
I move for approval. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved. Item 3 is public comments. But we have anybody here that wants to make public comment? It's open for public comments if you care. Make any? If not, we'll move on. Item 4, an update on public utilities projects and activities, and an update on the AMIs.
Linda forwarded out the report, I believe, at our last committee meeting. There was a recommendation that the reports get sent out ahead of time and that committee have a chance to review them and then ask any questions of them. I can just let you know that the report included phase 1 of Bernard Avenue stormwater improvements, the slip lining of the sewer through the Ohio Wesleyan campus, our cooperative boating facility grant, construction of the 3 sites, 2 at Mingo and the 1 at Cherry Street. Happy to report that those projects are completed and the parking lots were opened up today so that the public can access the parking lot and canoe kayak sites at their leisure at this time. So we're all set to go.
ODNR to raise the water so they could actually get in.
That would help if there was a little bit of water there too. But so those projects are complete. There will be some signage going up there here in the very near future, just acknowledging the city's role in the project along with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, and then just information about the project and the other projects that are ongoing include our sanitary sewer collection system master plan. That's the flow monitoring, just the updated the flow monitoring is going on at this time. The project is almost complete, and it's part of the role of the consultant is to give a couple updates to either the committee or to the public service group. So if the committee would like to have them at the consultant at our next meeting, we can set that up so they can go through the report with the members of the committee. So you can just let me know if you'd like that at our next meeting. It could be a 15-minute presentation, and they can just go over the highlights of the report with you at that time. And the last project, major projects ongoing, is the aeration system improvements at the wastewater plant. Currently, we're getting a couple of the existing aeration blowers rehab, and then later fall, the new high-speed direct drive turbo blowers will be installed, and they're much more energy efficient, and we'll get a payback on our electricity usage at the wastewater plant over the next couple of years based on the efficiency of the new blowers. So that's it for any of the projects. I can answer any questions if anybody has anything about any specific project. If there aren't any, we can just go over the status of the AMI project. We had a nice First Friday set up with our with Mueller and Everett Prescott at the First Friday, just answering questions from the public regarding the project. Good feedback. Everybody looks forward to it, and we are installing this week. We are installing the backbone system, which is the collectors and the repeaters. That will go in place this week. Then we'll have software training July 22nd, and then we'll look to start the installation of the first phase of the MIUs August 1st. That will take place in the Kensington subdivision off of 521. We selected that subdivision. Majority of the homes have meter pits, so we can put in 500 MIUs, and we'll actually do a soft start. We'll get the MIUs installed, and then we'll make sure the system over there is operating correctly and getting our minimum of our 98.5% reads, and utility billing office will be trained on the software. We'll set the web portal sites for those residents over there. That should take about a 2-week evaluation period. And if everything goes off the hitch, we'll start the installation throughout the city, which should take the rest of the year to do at least the meter pits. And then the city staff will be following up during that time with the installation of the MIUs inside the homes. So meter pits should be done by the end of December. The entire city should be done by mid-2017. One thing I did attach was an updated propagation study that reflects the change order and a no cost change order that Mueller is going to provide for the city, where we'll be installing all composite plastic lids on our meter pits. There'll be no more metal pits. The composite lids will give us a much better read, because there won't be the interference with the metal lids, or at least a reduction. So you can see the propagation study on the one page that we're getting what they say is 100% coverage now for our existing city area. You can see that on the red here. This is means high read rates, and you can see that's all within our existing infrastructure in the city. So we're going to the composite lids, like I said, at no additional cost to the city. And we had been starting to go away from metal lids to the composite lids ourselves. Just expedites that process. And like I said, we can continue to provide the committee and city council with updates regarding this project through email as they come about. We'll make sure that the city council is updated as we make progress during this project, and not just wait until the committee meetings.
So what do you do with all the metal lids? Can you scrap them?
Yep. They'll be scrapped, and then the proceeds will be put back into the water fund.
Cool.
We talked, as this project was moving on, about the public information campaign. I know something came up today in the water bills. Do you anticipate doing more? How much, are we getting any resistance?
Not at this time. What we're, our vendor and city staff, including Lee Yoakum, we're working on the public release information. City council will be getting those letters prior to them going out to the city residents, so you guys know, if you get questions, what we're providing the residents in terms of the residents that are getting the MIUs. They get those 2 weeks ahead of time. And then when the meter is installed, or the MIU is installed, they get a door hanger letting them know that their upgrade to their meter place. And so we're actually working on those letters this week, and we want to get them out to city council so you guys have a chance to take a look at it before we go out and send them out to the residents. But they're due to go out to the residents approximately the week of June or July 18th.
Questions or anything from anybody?
And those letters will go out on city letterhead so that they know this project is from the city, and they won't be on Mueller or EJ Prescott's letterheads.
Right. Okay, item 5 is update on public works projects and activities.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we're going to have several brief updates from both Charles and Matt. I wanted to slide one in that just came in the last minute. I think you're already aware of this through the council agenda. I thought it's appropriate for this committee to have a shot at least listening to this too. This is just update on the public works roof facility, and we do have bids in and ready to go ahead and award one. It's more than the amount that was put in the budget, but it's within what the capital improvement budget approved for the project. So we're going to be asking for a supplemental appropriation to be able to fund. And this will repair all 8 roofs on all 8 buildings in the public works facility, and it will add skylights back in the fleet area, which is the most critical, needing the maximum light. The rest of the areas will have upgrades with just additional either T8 lighting or LED lighting within the building, as opposed to putting, I don't know, Charles, how many skylights there are in there. There must be 50 skylights. That was maybe popular back in the 60s, but every one of them was a potential leak point. So we're trying to minimize skylights. The new ones are automatic. They almost look like you have lights in the ceiling, and they will add a lot of light into the fleet area where those mechanics need light all day. The rest of the building will use LED or fluorescent lighting in there.
So that 50 will include some.
That will
skylights?
include, yeah, it'll include skylights in the fleet area, but that's the only, well,
Well, I think she said it was, I think the project's like 417.
yes. And there's additional,
Okay, the additional money.
there's options, and I'm going with Jerry Warner's recommendation, which is award for all roof areas, and then do the skylights, limit the skylights to just the fleet area, and then augment the other areas with additional additional electric lighting inside as needed. Because as you're aware, not all areas need the highest level of lighting, because some of it's just storage. So we want to be somewhat frugal with the money, but we do need the funding up to the level that was in the CIP to be able to complete the project. And it'll be presented to council next Monday night.
Okay.
So if there's no questions on that, then I'm going to turn it over to Matt for some project updates, then Charles will have some brief updates also.
All right, we'll start with Troy Road Bikeway. A lot of progress. They were actually starting to put the stone base down last couple of days. We anticipate opening that path by the end of this month. That's the goal, weather permitting. 2016 resurfacing program. Our program's highly dependent on grant funding. We just got the grant agreements in today. We don't yet have a schedule. We have a contractor already. We've already bid the project. And as soon as we get a schedule, we'll pass that information along, because it will be an impactful start with North Sandusky and Park Avenue. Will impact traffic quite a bit. My best estimate is it will be starting probably within 3 weeks. And the contract is written to have Sandusky and Park both done for the Ironman event, is the goal. The goal is before school starts. The secondary goal, obviously, if weather doesn't permit that, then it's really important to be done for, it's not critical that we're done for Ironman, but it'd be really nice to have it done. So other streets in this year's program are Ann Street, Curly, and they call it Elm Wade Bank. It's the street that kind of curls around Eastside Park. So the work is actually, and those are our CDBG funds, our Community Development Block Grant funds. We usually try to logistically group those streets together so the contractor's not jumping around. And we were able to actually put Joy Avenue into this year's contract. It's been bumped 2 or 3 years in a row, so I was joyful about that.
Sorry to hear from that person.
Next year, London Road is our big street, all the way from Sandusky out where the concrete section begins up near 42. I'm not going to do anything to the concrete portion that the county built a few years ago. West Harrison, Channing Street, a small section of Channing between Winter and Central, and Central and William, and a large portion of Winter Street are on the slate for next year. I just thought I'd throw that out. If you get questions on what's the big street for next year. Unfortunately, something we wanted to mention was we had, and if I'm stealing your thunder, Charles, on the slip repair.
No, not good.
Okay. On this big storm we had on the 22nd, I don't know if you're aware, but Pollock Road, we had I'd call it a moderate failure of the pavement, where the pavement cracked substantially and dropped off a little bit for a section of about 80 feet or so. We had to close the road.
Yes.
We got started with a call from the township, and we actually, our crew is fantastic. They did a fantastic job. Our crew's mobilized, and we devised a plan in the field, and we had it fixed in a couple days.
Where at, Paula?
It just south of Bravo.
Okay.
Right? It's like it started cracking right at the cork line. It was amazing. And it stopped at the township line. So somebody was looking out for the township. And it wasn't, what we did was we didn't do the minimal Band-Aid fix. We didn't do the Cadillac, which would have been to strip all the vegetation along the stream bank, pull all the guardrail, and do a whole restoration of the embankment. That's not practical right now. It's not feasible for us. So what we did is we did a pretty beefy repair of the pavement, hoping that it buys a lot of time for us to think about what we might want to do along a 200 or 300 foot stretch along that road, where the river over the years just creeps just inches and inches closer to the road as Mother Nature does its thing. So that's a road we need to keep our eye on. And a good segue into Glen Parkway, because if we can get Glen Parkway built, then maybe that'll take some of the traffic away from Pollock. We have, right now we've selected a consultant to design the next section of Glen Parkway from where it terminates now at Sycamore Drive, near Ross, to Berlin Station Road. There is not an appropriation in the budget. That's not unusual for any section of Glen Parkway over the years. It usually gets, because it has its own funding source, it usually gets programmed into the CIP when we decide we want to build the project. If we started tomorrow on design, it'd be tough to get it built next year because there's right-of-way acquisition needs to be done, significant right-of-way acquisition. Probably looking at 2018 construction. We have a significant stream crossing too, which takes some permits from the EPA. So we were cutting the ribbon on that in 2 years.
Yeah, the issues with the city manager now and finance director in terms of putting the funding together to do the project. Everywhere we've been collecting funds from the residents, and there's nearly, gosh, I want to say there's probably nearly $1 million of funds collected that we do need to start spending. The first parts of this project to do the design right away, there's more than adequate. We're just checking the revenue stream that once we go to construction, the revenue stream will cover our borrowing cost of the project. So we're hoping to see that before council as an appropriation here in the next probably couple of months, so we can let the consultant go on that.
Last thing that's not on the agenda that I wanted to mention real quick that's important and was really a product of the merger between Public Works and Engineering was we have staff out in the field that are evaluating all of our payments within the city and giving them a letter grade of A through F, which is what we've been demonstrating on the boards for years. For decade plus or 2 decades, we've used the 0 through 100 rather complicated scale of how you get that number. We've simplified it. It's more efficient. It's a broader. So what the trade-off is you're making broader category. You're categorizing things more broadly, but the biggest upside is we were able to do it. It's the amount of work that we can handle in-house with our staff, so we're saving consultant fees, and we'll be able to do it more frequently, every 1 or 2 years. We'll be able to evaluate. So they've been out there under the radar, unlike SafeBox. There's no dots going down. It's all being written down on paper. So they're out there under the radar, evaluating all of our streets right now.
Who does the evaluation?
We have one person from Public Works, the old Public Works, and one person from Engineering. So it's a 2-person team out there. And we also have myself doing audits. I'll go out and spot check. Charles and I are actually going out there this week. They've given us their letter grades, and we're going out and spot checking their work.
It just seems like the guys that are on the roads every day, such as our trash guys or our police or somebody, should be able to have some kind of input. You know, they're on the streets every street, every single week.
Right. Sometimes you have to get out though, and the refuse guys, they see it. They're walking on it. Yeah.
So I don't know if you can use that and save you guys from going on. I don't need to double check when you think something's so bad and you don't think that. But
I walk back a lot to the back and say, hey guys, can you give me a feel for at any moment in time if we're looking at an estimate on the street, I may pick their brain as to what the street looks like. But
and also I want to chime in on a little bit. We found also if you're just doing a drive-by, you miss more versus out walking,
Right.
you know, so those guys aren't really, they're doing a different function. So it's not really, it's going to take away from their time to kind of, if they see a pothole or something drastic, they can give us that information. And usually we utilize that, they give that to Linda. But I think it's more effective for us to have our feet on the ground and actually walking that pavement, give a better visual.
I think we'll probably have 4 weeks into it,
Yes.
probably.
yeah, 4 weeks, but not even
Full weeks.
not full time either.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's pretty efficient.
Yes,
But you do have to look at the type of cracking.
yes.
And a lot of times those guys aren't paying attention to the type of cracking, whether it looks alligatorish or not, or block cracking, some of those intricacies.
But to build on your point, precisely one of the benefits of the merger, it's like 2 years, 3 years old now. I mean, it's all the guys who work on the streets, whether it's refuse or the street folks or traffic, engineering, they're all working together side by side. So there's so much exchange daily information now.
Yeah.
So hey, this road really fell apart with the winter time. So we'll send a technician out to go look at it and re-rate it. So the relationship's been great.
It has.
It's been really beneficial to the city. And we're catching so much more. Matter of fact, the Pollock Road slip that we talked about, we had a team out there within, Matt, on the way in, got out there, and we had superintendents and supervisors and everybody out there, had a solution within about an hour and a half. And within an hour from that, we were already making repairs. All because we had all the right people available for that.
A few years ago, it would have been a couple more days to figure everything out. Because we're steps away, it's so much better. Right. And face-to-face interaction is so much more productive. That's all I have.
Okay.
Charles has a few brief
Okay. Right.
updates.
Good segue from Matt. We're continuing to do base repairs. North Sandusky will be finalized tomorrow, and then we'll move from North Sandusky to West William. And talking about weather, West William used to be one of our better sections west of the railroad tracks, Toledo. So now if you look, there's paint marks from Toledo to the west all the way to Hawk Road. And that used to be good pavement. So you can kind of just see the breakdown of our roads.
Didn't we do some research in West William not that long ago?
Yes, we did. Probably less than, 5 years, Bill?
The ODOT project,
Yes.
right.
What
So-
happened?
Well, I think we talked about this the other night too. There's, the resurfacing itself is good work, but the base below the street is just failing in places. And what you see is that reflects through the new pavement. So we try to get as much base repair done. That's what you're seeing on Sandusky Street now, trying to fix the bad soft spots. So when we pave over it, the top stays in good condition. But sometimes you're paving over pavement that's just failed. East Central Avenue is the best example. And in a very short time, those soft spots come right through the top and it looks like it's failing. It's not, there's nothing really wrong with the top coat going down. It's just the road itself is no longer capable of withstanding long-term the loads. That's when we say a road needs to be rebuilt from the bottom up. And that's that's when you get into the several $1 million and digging out 18 to 24 inches of the road and physically rebuilding the whole thing.
So does West William need that?
It's going to eventually need that. It's not as bad as, say, East Central Avenue. East William Street was rebuilt, I want to say back in '88 or so, and it's still holding up really well as a full-strength section. That was the only piece that was rebuilt. Everything else is basically roads that are got 50 years, 70 years on the base, and the base to deteriorate, and they begin to fall apart. And that's what we're facing right now in these main roads. So we're out there taking care of the worst spots, but we can't get them all. And we hate doing too much base repair because you're almost throwing good money away at fixing spots, knowing the next one. But the difference between base repair and coming up with $8 million to rebuild the road is we're just not in a position right now to be able to rebuild. So we're doing spot repairs the best we can. And that's what you really see. And it is disappointing to see a brand new mat over there, and 2 or 3 years later, you see all this alligator cracking through it.
We priced West William and West Central both in the transportation plan update. There was 12 projects. I think we've really focused on 4, but there's another 8 projects we did some detailed estimating work. West William is one of them, but it's only 2, I believe, Penick.
For base repair.
For base, well, no, for rebuilding.
Oh, you mean the big picture?
Yes, if you're interested in what the magnitude of cost would be to rebuild a road like that. We did, I can't remember the number off the top of my head. I want to say it's over
We'll build.
10 million.
Well, one of our later items is talking about transportation plan update, and that's one of the things we hope to be able to provide the committee is these magnitude costs for some of the other non-moving downward forward projects that are still important to us.
10 million.
Because the West William Street project, what's our time frame on it? How
So
long?
far as base repairs,
Yeah.
we'll be there probably 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. that's-
Yes, 2 weeks, yes, yeah. And we'll start out at Hawk Road and we'll work from the west to the east. Yes. Yeah. Another portion which you're seeing out in the community, we have a crack seal program. If you notice what we're doing, we're impacting all of our main arterials, our high traffic areas, and you'll see when you're driving, once you put that crack sealant down, you'll see the impact and the stress levels on pavement. Elizabeth Road, look at that street, a lot of crack seal. You look at Ohio Health Boulevard, that's less than 10 years old, 12 years old. Look at the amount of crack seal that's on that road. So when you're driving down that road, you don't see the distresses in that pavement. But that's a signal to let me know we're trying to keep that water infiltration in those cracks. So that's preventive maintenance. So that's an ongoing. We utilize our seasonals and one full-time staff member to try to get as much crack seal material as we can per year. So that's a lot of what's going on in the community. Also, one of the projects we did for the parks, Veterans Park, we did a boardwalk program there with the help of Bill. Bill laid us out a plan to where water was kind of laying on the path. So we built a boardwalk. So if you guys get a chance, I recommend you go out and kind of walk and see what our guys did in-house. That was our street department guys that took that project on and made a boardwalk all through there.
Where is that?
Right out by the YMCA. That
Around the pond.
yeah, around the pond. There's
Okay.
a boardwalk there in the low areas to kind of not impact the water flow into that
Oh, okay.
retention area. Yes.
It'll provide utility to that path then full-time. There's a couple of months out of the year where it's just, unless you have boots on, you can't really get through there.
Right.
So we want to maintain the ecosystem, but allow the passage through, so the boardwalk's really sharp.
Yes.
The guys did a great job on that.
The CSX London Road, that project's done. We did that ahead of schedule.
Yeah, that's great.
That's another one of those projects where engineering and public works were able to put our heads together and make that project happen. So, I mean, it's just, I can't speak enough highly, with us being together. You had two different opinions going on and never that group discussion. So, I mean, it has value. So, going, what Bill and Matt has said, we all at the round table together making those decisions. So once we go out to the field, we're making it happen. So that's one of our projects. The pavers downtown, I know we've had a lot of issues going on there. Bill and I have been kind of working. We need to put a plan together to put that in the CIP to get that totally replaced. Right now, what our staff is doing is driven by citizens' complaints. We started the Old Bag of Nails because there was some liability there. We went from Old Bag of Nails to Winter. And then just today, we went in front of Hamburger Inn.
Good.
We
That's what I
had
was just
somebody,
gonna mention.
yeah, the chief mentioned that to Bill, and we went out and responded to that and made that repair, temporary repair right now. But we need to look at that in the future.
Did we take a tree out of one of those wells?
I think so, yes.
Look, I was down there yesterday, I'm
Yes.
like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
there's
the
one
tree's
missing.
gone.
Yeah, we're not sure why that tree was out. Maybe Tom knows.
Yeah.
No. I couldn't find out today why that tree was removed in front of Hamburger Inn.
I didn't know when it got removed,
Yeah.
it's like gone.
Someone just
Yep.
stole a tree?
Yeah.
It's solid. Solid.
Yeah, it's cut out of there. So I'm assuming we did it. I don't know if maybe a vehicle hit it and it got damaged, but we're trying to find out why the tree was. But when the
I
tree was
just thought that
taken,
was odd.
when the tree was taken out, it left the electric there for people to trip over. So,
Right, I tried to move it and I couldn't.
No,
Yes.
we got it cleaned up.
Okay.
We repaired that today.
Okay,
So, yes.
thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm also in front of the Strand. We replaced those pavers. I don't know if you noticed the stars in there. That was done by a private contractor, but then we came in and relayed the pavers. So that project is done.
It looks beautiful.
Thank you. I'll pass that on. So, also, this four-letter word I don't want to say. I want to enjoy the summer, but our salt numbers came back at a $25 decrease. So this year we're going to be at about $49.21 per ton for salt. So I mean that
I
was
remember when it was $100 too.
yes,
$1
yes, yes. So we're down back to reality. Correct.
Yeah.
So yes. So HVAC at City Hall, we're about 95% there. They had one of their top guys that started this for the contractor. He found another job, so we're just waiting on training. So we're 95% up and running here at City Hall. They just got to do a little bit of tweaking and then give us in-house training, and we'll be up to 100%. So that's good here. Yes.
It's great.
And are there any questions?
Thank you.
Item 6 is presentation and consideration of safe walks resolution of
That's me also. Again, I just thought appropriate to make sure this committee has this information before it goes to full council. This will be our, likely be our last resolution necessity for this citywide program. What I provided you, in the packet is the 2016 summary. That's actually the work. And if you look at the map, I provided you, the light green areas, W5, 6, 7, W7, W1, that's the information from the packet. That's what we're actually actively getting ready to complete this year. The red area is what the resolution necessity will be considered by council Monday night. And that's just to finalize the last section of the city. And with that, we have completed in 10 years an entire street of the city and completed nearly 15,000 tripping hazards when this is done. Very well received. I know we get a few comments and nastygrams from time to time, but largely the number of people that have responded positively said this really needed to happen, and they really appreciate it, whether they walk, run, jog, or just stroll on the sidewalks. It's made a big difference. So the packet of addresses is the same that will be in the resolution. Those are the impacted properties in the red areas, the 3 red areas that have just been evaluated. And once the resolution necessities approved, those property owners will receive the full packet from the city explaining their requirement to make repairs, to opportunity to make their own repairs over the next several months, or to elect the city just to make the repairs on their behalf and then just pay the cost for that. So again, this is, I'm kind of excited that we actually started an initiative a decade ago and we're finishing one, and it's had a really positive impact on the community. We will be bringing back later this year revisions to how we do Safe Walks program. We won't be doing these citywide sweeps anymore. There'll still be need to keep a check on walks to try to catch. We will always have complaint-driven repairs. But what we'll most likely do is, as we resurface streets, we'll probably go and look at the lighting on the streets, look at the sidewalks on the streets, look at utility issues, and do it on a street-by-street basis. So eventually, if we repave every street in town, we'll go back and be able to check those sidewalks. But it'll be more like, we're looking at a few hundred homes maximum in a year instead of a few thousand homes. So it's a way to keep the importance of keeping the sidewalk safe without having to do these giant safe walk programs. So this will be a council issue on Monday night. And if there's any questions on that or not.
So do these people, they've already had your letter then?
They have right now just the first handout, which is a door notice that explains what the dots on the sidewalk, and it's part of the Safe Walks program. Once the resolution is approved, then we send out certified mailings, and they're explained why we're having the program, what their rights are, what their requirements are, and what their options are. And that's a package of still about 8 or 9 pieces of information, gives them contractors' names, different methods to repair, and explains the appeal process. If they want to appeal a program, they come to back to this committee.
All righty.
Some of these numbers are huge.
It varies quite a bit by property and by owner.
It seems like some streets, just the entire sidewalk must be bad. I mean, just like one night afternoon.
It can't, it's, and in fairness to our guys, they do a good job trying to be fair.
Yeah.
They only write down those sidewalks that are definitively outside the requirements. They don't, if it looks iffy, we tend to err on the side of the property owner and not require the repair.
So like Ingham Circle, how old is that street? Are those sidewalks? That's your
That's
name.
not old. That's in,
But
this is all,
there's
a lot of this is
1,
my
2,
word
3,
now.
4,
Yeah.
5, 6. There's 6 on Bingham.
Yeah.
Lakemore's not that old. I'm surprised
Yeah.
how many of the newer ones.
And I'd venture to say the majority of those are due to street trees. Yeah, that's been probably our issue on the majority of walks is street trees, heaving the walks.
But if it's a street tree, then it's the city's responsibility, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, but a lot of these are the residents.
Every one of these are resident, well, there's one. City, everything else is.
Yeah, we have, in this year's program, we have 25,830 square feet of resident responsibility and 16,000 square feet of city responsibility. So not quite a third and 2/3.
Okay, but again, I'm just looking at Bingham. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 on Bingham Circle. All but one is the owner's responsibility. And how old is that street? Are there sidewalks? Those houses were built, what, 2007?
Yeah, so less than 10 years.
So why are they failing in 7 years?
Yeah, in the case
10
where,
years.
if a case where it's non-street tree related, we have to look and say it could be the contractor did a poor job backfilling the sidewalks. I'd have to look specifically, and see what exactly the reason is.
What's the percentage of the area that was deficient?
There's several deficiencies. The most common is this street tree heavals. Sometimes it's a private tree put in, sometimes just settlement on the property. The newer lots tend to be settlement as well, where depending on how the property is graded, they tend to push soil loosely back up in the area and build the sidewalks. If it's not heavily compacted like we would on a road, that could continue to settle over time, and then the sidewalk will settle out of level, maybe in a section or two, relative to the slab next to it, and then you get a tripping hazard.
Okay, see, I mean, one of these on here, 104 Vaughn Road, is $3,000?
Could be. And I would have to, again, Vaughn Road's, I think, an older area.
Yeah, it looks like Vaughn Road and
Yeah.
Vaughn's as
so-
old as
Delaware
I am.
Meadows.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh.
Vaughn's as old as
Yes.
I am.
Yeah.
So
that's-
that's old.
That's Delaware Mountain.
Okay, so that's not a private homeowner. But Pennick Avenue, it looks like every address on Pennick. I mean, I know that's an older street, but
Well, Vaughn looks like it's almost every address too.
yes.
This sidewalks probably have not been repaired in 30 years.
Yeah, so if you see a 25, that generally indicates one section of sidewalk, 50 be two sections of sidewalk.
Okay,
So a lot of them are one section, two or three sections, and if you have 60 feet of frontage, 3 sections of sidewalk might be 3 out of 20 sections across your property. And on older properties, definitely you're gonna have more issues.
so is it any cheaper to have the city just go in and do the whole block?
Generally speaking, no, because you're gonna pay per square foot.
Okay,
You need to be up near
Yeah.
60-70% of the area deficient. That break-even point, so to say maybe 50%, to say it's easier to, other cities have done that, and they found out that they've wasted a lot of good concrete and less than half deficient in on a property. And these are just 1 or 2 squares per property.
But it would behoove these neighbors to get together and call a contractor and just boom, 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 boom.
They don't even have to do that. We're fine. Contractors are going to them.
It's really worked really well over the few years. They follow us around with the marks, and they go, and they put notices on
Very
doors.
savvy. I mean,
Yeah, that's what we hoped actually would happen, because we don't want residents to have to figure out how to fix a sidewalk. The contractors are actually helping them, and it's the better contractors that are doing that.
Yeah, the price that we have estimated here is based on if we were to do it right with our city contractor.
Yes.
So they're gonna, if they're using, we're hearing that they're getting pretty aggressive in their pricing, and they're not gonna pay that much if they use a private contractor normally.
Especially if the people band together. We've seen a number of streets where everyone on the street gets together with that contractor, and the guy comes in, and I just saw on Lexington Boulevard earlier this year, where a contractor came in, and he probably worked on maybe 15 properties. So the system has worked well in terms of finding economical ways to do it.
do we need larger tree lawn?
Could it get any lower?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Did you look at this one?
No, I couldn't.
Oh my gosh.
Which one?
Did you see this?
That was probably the one in the packet.
It is.
And those are the ones that have already been notified. Most people have made repairs, and we're doing cleanup on the lots that have not.
We could try to get it on 11 by 17.
Was there another question?
Do we need to increase the size of the tree lawn?
Well, we've had this discussion, all through this process, that the street trees are definitely problematic. And we've, I think we've actually, Tom Wolver has made some suggestions. We looked at different methods, but yes, if we're going to keep putting street trees and tree lawns, the tree lawns we have are just too narrow for the type of trees we have. Now, granted that we've made changes to some of the trees that the roots tend not to be so surface, but a lot of the maples we planted so many maple trees back in the 90s, and we're like my neighborhood, and those are just terribly problematic. They've raised a lot of the sidewalks in so many places. I don't know enough about all the trees or what are better and what's not. We talked about wider tree lawns, which was implemented at one point, but not because of trees, just because we wanted wider tree lawns. The tree issue is going to be an ongoing issue. We're fixing walks now, and our keeping up with it will, hopefully we won't have this 15,000 bad spots in town catch up with us again, because we'll be able to adjust it over year by year slowly. But the picture is that the issue of trees or no trees in the tree lawn, wider tree lawns. Wider tree lawns means deeper house setbacks, deeper lots, and that affects how many lots you get per subdivision. So it's a complex issue, which is probably why it hasn't been resolved. But we do know, what we do now is we do root pruning. When we fix the walk, we try to cut all the roots off if we can, so they don't continue to grow back under. And even that, there's differing thoughts and opinions in the people who are know trees better than we do. And say even though you do that, all the roots may grow out and try to find their way back up too. It's nothing. We're in the same situation that so many communities are because of trees, and communities that don't have trees in the tree lawn don't have the issue here like we do. But it's been an expensive issue maintaining these sidewalks with the trees. I don't know if I have that total cost here. I mean, it's in all kinds, Matt. 3.2 million is what the total project has been over 10 years. Between our expense and the public expense, the city has been $1.7 million for the sidewalks in the past 10 years. And it doesn't mean the problems are solved forever. It just means of what we fixed, that's the cost of it. So it's a discussion issue, Lisa, and I hate to think we just got to keep approaching the problem this way, but maybe there can be some changes into the future so we don't repeat these over and over and over again. We've got thousands of more homes to build on new lots that are not even built subdivisions, and we seem to be repeating.
I'm sure Tom will come up with the answer, what kind of tree to put in, right?
Yeah.
They have changed.
Well, it seems like that's a big part of it, rather than, that's a major change, we start creating a bigger tree lawn and changing the setbacks. I mean, it's a trickle down problem.
Absolutely.
Getting more trees, but you can use your solution.
Absolutely.
New standards street standards that we've been talking with the IA that we came up with a few years ago have wider tree lawns. They just have not a lot of them been built yet, so we can't go out and see them.
Good questions.
Thanks, Bill. Item 7 is review of the transportation plan update.
Okay, this is really brief. I just wanted to post you on where we are. What I'm going to pass out is this is the draft version of what will be the updated transportation plan. It's really just a map of the city with heavy red lines indicating where we have projects. This is the 2004 version of the transportation plan I'm just passing out now, so you can contrast the two. And again, we're still working on this. It's a work in progress. The 2004 version with the green and yellow lines on there, that the heavy green lines highlight those are all projects that were in the 2004 plan that have completed 2004 or in process right now of construction and will be completed. So you can see there's quite a few projects that have been worked on. A lot of it is the result of our heavy land development activity. That's where a lot of the work comes from. Some of the other projects, like for example, Sunville Parkway, Glen Parkway, up to Sycamore, are because we worked and built those projects. The yellow projects, the yellow lines, are ones that we are not necessarily recommending to include in the 2016 update for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is railroad crossings. We just don't see, you can't build new railroad crossings, at-grade crossings, without giving up at-grade crossing, which we don't have at-grade crossings to give up on our primary roads. And we also don't have $10 to $20 million to continue to build bridges over railroad crossings. So one significant one that comes to mind would be Merrick Parkway was shown going over the railroad on the west side of town. Now it's proposed to end at Troy Road and use Hills Mill Road in Pennsylvania as your mechanism to get over 23 and not build that expensive railroad crossing because we have so many other needs. So that's true in other places. Other ones like the County Alternative Y, which is the big line across the top of the page, and the cross-county extension on that lower end of the page. Those are ones that are just well outside our jurisdiction and relatively will be outside our jurisdiction for all of our time here, everybody in this room. And we don't need those projects on our plan because we're going to have no interaction with those into the future. Other ones have just been eliminated because changes in property use. Property's been purchased like, and turned into a park area, so we don't include those anymore. So that's what I wanted to show you, because there are projects that, those are projects that will no longer appear. One other good one is Brown Mill Road extension across the Olentangy River to Sunhill Parkway. We had that project back in 2004 before Glen Road was under construction or really could be realized. Now we have Glen Road. So we don't need that other river crossing, expensive river crossing, bringing Brown Miller across to Stratford River. So that'll be recommended taking off. So this is purely draft right now. I wanted to involve the group because it does involve the road network, and you should have some intimate knowledge about this. My intention would be to bring back more detailed levels of this with more descriptions, so you have some time to really soak it in and talk about specific projects that may or may not be on there.
Do you have the key that goes with this, so I know what number 4 or 5?
I will provide that to you.
Okay.
I will provide that to you, yeah, because the new key does not match the existing key.
Okay.
So I will provide more detail of that, plus explanation on each of the ones we're talking about taking off. A lot of if you recall, and for those of you who weren't on committee back in 2001 when our original transportation plan, Thoroughfare plan had just 16 projects on it, just main projects, and didn't have a lot of the smaller projects on there. We were challenged around 2003 with a proposed development on the east side on 36, between 36 and Bowtown Road, where we wanted a connection to be built, the frontage road, which is now Biltmore Drive, extended, and they objected to that and came back and said, you don't have a transportation plan that shows that, so we're not obligated to that. So in 2004, we updated our transportation plan and added a whole lot more roads that we thought would be appropriate, good network planning at the time. That's how all the lines got on there. Go forward now, 13 years, things have changed, some have been built, some are no longer needed, and that's the really update we want to be working on. And this will take some time, but I wanted you to have some input really early on in the process. If you don't like the way it's going, or you want certain information back in detail, I'll provide that to you. And that's all I really had on that issue right there, unless you had any questions about it. Okay.
Other discussion of potential policy on public right-of-way memorial displays.
Yeah, this is a sensitive issue, no doubt, and we all obviously are trying to be very sensitive to folks that have undergone loss on the highways. But it is an issue, and I think West Central, you've probably all seen the picture of the memorial that was put up. We don't know who put it up, friends of the individual that was struck and killed. But in researching with Dave Flynn and Bruce Pujanowski, we just don't have any policy at all about how to manage these things. And the last time we had an issue where we tried to interact and remove after some time, there was confrontation, and the position at the time of the city was, we don't want to deal with it. So it's an issue that we need to deal with. I'm not sure we need to write code on it. Maybe we can just have policy on it. But I've talked with the city manager a little bit about it, and I think he shares the same opinion that the right-of-way is not a cemetery, a memorial garden, and on the same hand, we're sensitive to some people needing to deal with the issue for a short period of time.
What other cities are doing, or other jurisdictions, whether they be townships or...
We're trying to call around a little bit and just to see if anyone has a written policy. One of the things I'd like to do, instead of just tell somebody no, or give an alternative. What I was working toward proposing is allowing people to deal with their grief and maybe give them a period of a month, 30 days. If they want to do something like that, and just okay, let it occur. But at the end of that time, I was down in Hamilton County 2 years ago in the Winton Woods Park, and I noticed all these trees with these plaques, so I decided to go off trail and start reading them. They're all memorial trees, planted in memorial to somebody.
Which will raise the sidewalks.
We have a big tree lawn.
Yeah. So what they do is they allow people to purchase these trees and plaques, and some of them put benches by them and put them by the ponds there. And so it's an alternative way if we wanted to offer people, it's like if you don't have internment in a cemetery and that's not possible, we have another program. If you want to put a more permanent memorial up for your loved one for whatever reason, we have a place, a park where you can plant a number of variety of trees and be a plaque out there in memory of them. So it's an alternative to just saying, we're going to take this off and stay out of the right of way, saying we have a more appropriate way that's not cemetery related to allow some form of memorial to go on, to give people an option. So I wanted to get back, with this committee because we're kind of at a standstill what to do. I just want to order someone to go out there
Saw
and
yellow
just take it
tape up
down.
above this.
That was taken down, I
That's the
think,
caution tape.
by the property owner. That was the original caution tape from the police
That's
incident.
what I thought.
So this picture, since then, the yellow tape's been removed. There were a number of different beverage cans that show up the bottom here, then show up the bottom. So we haven't.
Which
Yeah.
is a memorial has something to do with it. I mean, you see the
Right.
ones where they do like a little cross or some
Right.
flowers or something.
So it's my position is it's not appropriate use of the right of way. There are specific places to,
The ones at London and 42, are the prices still?
I think they are right now.
Yes, and stone, we got.
Yeah.
They got stones there now too.
Yes, stone there.
So that's a family would like to be able to offer an alternative to.
You know, we have so many tree lawns in our, could we just allow them to put a plaque at the closest tree to wherever their loved one died? Of some kind, whether it be a metal plaque on a little stake that sits in front rather than saying you have to buy a tree over here. Because what they want to do is remember where that person died.
Mhm.
So there are so many trees that we should have some kind of an option to let them do that maybe.
It depends, if it's someone else's property though, they may, in this particular case, the property owner, there may or may not, they may be very tolerant
I'm
of this
thinking
one.
small
Right,
in the tree lawn in front of that tree.
right.
But my suggestion would be that we see if there's other policies out there somewhere. Because this is kind of a common practice.
Mhm.
And, obviously, the police chief, there's some safety issues, even if it's temporary, that I think we should consider. We leave it up for 30 days if it's not traffic hazard or something.
Right. And in this particular case, there's a reverse effect that, I'm sure it's tragic for the person who accidentally ran over the person, not their fault, to have to see that every day, no fault of theirs. And they're being reminded of a tragedy that they may want to be reminded of that openly too, with that being displayed in the right of way. So it's a very sensitive issue.
Same for the property owner. Property owner may not want to be reminded. of that.
Exactly. So that's why
Yeah,
it's important to come up with some form of alternative here.
So the one at London in 42, how many years ago was that?
What, 15 maybe?
15, that's what I-
think
at least
15, yeah.
And it's still being maintained?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes. There were
How many
20
do we
girls.
have, do we figure? These memorials?
Well, I think there's one in 23. I know there's the London one, and then one that showed up,
Shorter is across there.
yeah. So,
That one just happened at Schroyer's too,
Yes,
right?
yeah, so there's at least 3.
And these two just happened, the one out there.
the other one I think is out on 36, where the folks were killed,
Okay.
east of Allen Creek though.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be ruthless, but we also need to, I also don't think we want to have codified ordinance on this either, but we should have some form of policy to delicately deal with it and to offer the people some more fitting alternative than to use the right of way as in a sense of cemetery. So we can look into some policy and on that. I don't know if there's, in the meantime, you want to do anything with what's out there or
Not yet, not yet. Has it been 30 days?
yeah, it's been closer to 60 days, I think.
Is it really
Yeah.
already?
Yeah. And if you want, we can bring the issue back to council, so that doesn't necessarily have to wait 3 months before we address it.
Do we even know who's putting it out?
No, we don't.
So if we take it, they may just put another one back up.
They might, or they might just call to find out where it is, and we can keep it for them. And so if they want it, we can give it back to them. What we don't want to do is go to war you know, with a family, but that's why trying to offer an alternative is probably a
Where would we,
fitting.
do we have a place where we could offer that alternative?
I was gonna talk to Ted Miller and see what he thinks about the idea of, you know, we got so many parks here in the city, and I don't, you know, like the wetland park behind Coles is a huge, beautiful park with water views and woods views, and it seems like there's acres and acres of property there. You could do something like that. Mingo Park's a beautiful park, you know, to do that type of thing. That's why I'd like to maybe involve the parks director and see what his thoughts are regarding that.
So would those trees be then only people as an alternative to these roadway displays, or would that then be open to the whole entire community of memorializing any level?
The impression I got from the Hamilton County was that it was for anyone who wanted to provide memorials and at the same time, you know, plant trees. And some of them were more elaborate in the description, and they talked about their supporters of the park or environmentalists and things like that. So there's a number of reasonings I was gathering from it of why people did that. Now, there wasn't thousands of these, there wasn't even hundreds of them, but I bet I probably saw 50 of them. But the park, again, was probably a few hundred acres, maybe larger than that park. So it wasn't like you saw memorial to memorial, but there was a number of them in the 3 or 4 hours we were there walking around. So that was a nice option that park system came up with. And maybe something we could explore more as an alternative we can provide these folks as a way to deal with it, because not everybody has cemetery plots or interment cemeteries, and they're trying to remember somehow.
I guess I'd like to just know what other communities
Okay.
do, and then
I think that's good.
if we're going to have an alternative, then get some information from Ted
Sure,
on what that would be, and just ideas, I guess.
yeah.
I know at the fairgrounds, whenever we lose somebody, they do this plaque and it gets embedded in front of that tree. That's Milhan's tree, or that's so-and-so's tree, and that's just the way they do it.
This is from Mingo already. Jim Moore has a tree at Mingo, I believe.
Mhm,
That's in our neighborhood.
mhm.
Thanks, Bill.
All right.
So last item on the list, well, not the last, but the one before comments is discussion of downtown refuse collection, downtown refuge district.
Yes. You were provided previously some information from Jackie Walker on this, and you know, she tried to get involved in the issue, took a look at it, and quickly understands the complexity of what we're trying to resolve. And we keep going back to, when you look at downtown refuse, it's a very complex issue with a whole lot of different conditions on every property and multiple agencies collecting refuse down there. Largely, we have very little complaints about 95% or more. It works. Today was refuse collection because of the holiday. I went and drove, and yes, all the bags were out on the front. Almost everyone complies with waiting until today to cut their trash out, and we come by 10 o'clock, we're out there picking it all up. There's a couple that just continue to be more abusive to the system and not care. They're more transient probably than the tenants and property owners, so they tend to probably not obey the rules. So I know that's one of the issues we've been dealing with, especially in the South Sandusky block. There's a few issues with violators, illegal dumping in the back alleys too, because of the darkness and the availability, not just our publicly owned refuse containers, but also the privately owned ones as well. If there's a lock on it, they'll throw it on top or throw it to the side. One of the things I've realized is we're just not going to stop that part of behavior. So one of the things we can do at top of our refuse division is we can just step up more of just doing the right thing and going and cleaning these things up when they occur, because we're not going to stop the behavior. 2 of the 3 recommendations Jackie laid out were massively changing how we do things, requiring only city service, buying properties, putting refuse containers, more refuse containers out back. And after doing all that, I asked myself, is that still going to stop that person from South Sandusky from taking their trash out and throwing it out there on a Saturday morning? The answer is probably not. So do we need to create an entire refuse district having that type of control? Is that the issue we're trying to address? We want the control, or we want to go after the violators in a more meaningful way? So we keep going back to what problem are we really identifying with downtown refuse collection? And I know from being involved in this now for 3 years that it tends to be those who make a real mess out in the front on the sidewalks. There's one of our number one problems. Why do they put it out front? Because not all properties have any access to dumpster. They have no property. Some don't even have room for toters. So they have to put it out front for the refuse collection. That's a number of properties down there. Some just have absolutely no access out the back of their building to get to dumpsters out back.
Can I stop you just because I have a question?
Yeah.
So if they're a residential building, are you saying that they have no access to dumpsters at all?
We could provide them, we could tell the building owner, you're gonna subscribe to our service, and our dumpsters at the end of the alley on South Sandusky Street behind Subway and Opus, our dumpster back here, and you're gonna be part of that. We could tell them that. It doesn't mean the tenant is going to take their trash back there, because right from that part of the block, it's darn near a quarter-mile walk to go all the way up to William Street, around and back to the alley. and back.
But, okay,
Yeah.
even if let's say there's no back entrance, they can still put it in their car and drive it to the dumpster. I mean, they're leaving at some point to go somewhere.
Right.
I'm assuming they're not, but so that, the building could potentially have tenants but not have a dumpster at all. So
That's-
why are we allowing people to live in places where there's nowhere to dispose of trash?
Well, that's one of the fundamental things we come back with, is that, that particular building doesn't, but then you got this real great coffee shop on the corner who's a good tenant and good asset to downtown. They also have no access at all on any side other than street side refuse collection as well.
So what do we do with theirs?
They put it out front right on William Street, and we pick it up with the refuse collection.
Same time Solar Saloon puts theirs out, they just. set right
And it's sometimes a sizable pile out there. But when we have business owners, we tend to be able to speak with them more about, can you follow these rules and do it this way? So it's only these times, so it's not out there for 2 or 3 days, it doesn't smell. The tenants are renting from property owners that aren't within the community, that don't have the day-to-day oversight over their properties, don't know what's happening, even though we'll call and tell them this has happened, and we'll talk to our tenants. But they're not invested in the community other than, owning the property.
So we'll charge you every time we need to come pick it up.
That's one of the simplified suggestions I had made in terms of one of the recommendations to the ordinance. What our ordinance now says is we have to, when these violations occur, we have to go and post it and allow 48 hours and see if they pick it up. Well, no one wants that downtown, but outside of the Opus, when it's a mess, we typically are getting a call saying, so-and-so saw this, they complained, would you call in refuse and go pick it up? So we do, we respond usually within 3 to 4 hours sooner if we can get a call out on a weekend. That costs us 3 hours of call out time to do that, but we can respond that way. But when we do that, we're circumventing our own ordinance, so there's no way we can go after the person because we chose to violate it. One of the recommendations I'm simply making is that we keep our ordinance intact. We add another section that says if the city manager or designated representative makes a determination that the accumulation or deposit of material, trash, presents an immediate safety risk, hazard, or otherwise objectionable public nuisance to the adjacent property owners or pedestrians or motorists, we can just say, we're gonna go pick it up. We don't have to wait 48 hours. But we can still charge you. We'll put the notice there, we picked it up, and we can still go after that tenant or the property owner of the tenant or the violator. It still gives us the same ability to recoup our money, or try to at least, but we can do it immediately if we determine downtown area, we're not going to stand for this being out there for 2 days, 3 days. We want to react. Public Works, we can be reactionary. We can go there and clean it up and know that at least there's a mechanism to try to identify who the violator is and then to go after them. So it seems to me that approach, that spot approach, is probably a more effective means, and the minor adjustment to the ordinance at least gives us the tools to try to do it that way and to be able to react immediately. So if we do see something dumped out there and it's Saturday afternoon and we know refuse isn't coming to Monday, we could react and then say, let's see if we can figure out whose trash this is and try to levy a fine against them.
Here's part of the issue though, regardless of when it's picked up. I have a problem with just bags of trash on the sidewalk in our downtown. I came for the 4th of July parade and noticed that the owner of Opa's had a private event happening on his patio. Just right off of his patio were 2 bags of trash.
Yeah.
People weren't even able to sit on that little corner of the sidewalk for the parade because there was trash.
Right.
And it's just such a shame. And, you know, he's personally asked for my help in solving the problem. And I was embarrassed that he's having a party on his patio. And we've been talking about this for over a year and we still have these bags of trash.
Right, but bags of trash are not particular to that location because there's lots of bags of trash on the sidewalk downtown. If you look next Monday, you'll see just the extent of people who just bag trash and leave it out there.
That's okay if you put it on Monday. You don't put it on Saturday
Well,
for Monday pickup.
so the issue is it the bags or is it the violations on like the weekends? Because they're really 2 separate issues. And Linda, you can jump in and correct me at any point here if I'm making mistakes, because Linda's been involved in this for so many years. Not everyone even has access for a toter. I like to say it's got to be in a toter, but not everyone even can bring a toter into their building and then roll it outside and put their trash in a toter on Mondays. So we cater to every possible situation downtown to be the most friendly towards every business and tenant down there by allowing all these options. If we start eliminating options, we're going to create some real hardships for some other property owners that outside of the issue, they are obeying the rules. They're setting it out on their trash day and it's getting picked up and it's not being complained about. But it doesn't change the fact that someone walking down the sidewalk Monday at 9 may see 50 bags of trash at different locations because that's how they're setting their trash out. Some do have room for toters, so they're wheeling the toters out. Some don't.
Very few, because most of the living units are upstairs.
Yeah.
So they have steps that they have to go up. And if it's a business downstairs, they don't have any place for them to like put the container right inside the door. And most of them, like we said, don't have a rear access to go to do anything in the back with the dumpster or anything. So that's the major problem, is most of them, because the apartments are upstairs, don't have a place to store the toter.
I got a couple comments. One, it seems like maybe that's a reasonable first step, to try that and evaluate if we can make some impact on this. But the bigger picture is that to make major changes in trash is one thing, but as we continue to get more and more people living on the second floors of these buildings, it's not just trash, it's parking, our owners providing for space. I mean, it's kind of one of those catch-22s. We want people to live downtown, but yet we've got to deal with parking and trash and all that. So maybe this is a first step, but do we need to be thinking long-term about what's our plan for downtown?
Maybe some larger scale things the city needs to do. For example, if you're going to rent out your second and third floors of your buildings, you have to make provisions for people to either have room in their facility to store the trash until the once-a-week collection, or you have to provide provisions for them to get out the back of the building, or have toters at the back of the building, or have private service at the back. That they have to invest more in their facility so we don't end up with, it's great to have the tenant downtown, but the problems become our problems to deal with, and then the adjacent building owners or property owners are paying the price somewhat for kind of the mess that is being created. So we're trying to engage the property owners, to the building owners, to be part of the solution. It may mean they have to make some modifications, and then be responsible for their tenants' actions as well.
Well, if they don't have a toter, then how do you know, I mean, what's the limit to the amount of trash? Because I've seen like car seats and like other debris that isn't just in like plastic bags. So I know at my house, I can fill my toter.
Right.
What's the limit for an apartment building?
In a sense, they're paying the toter fee, $19.70 some cents.
1973.
$19.73 per month. So they're paying that price. And I don't think largely we're seeing people putting 2 toters worth of trash out there. So generally our guys pick up whatever's there. So most apartment people aren't generating the amount of refuse that a full single family home is generating in a subdivision. So that really hasn't been an issue. It's probably more so an issue in some of the subdivisions where people overload terribly, but that isn't so much an issue of the quantity downtown. It's just the frequency. And instead of waiting towards just the trash collection day, we're seeing it on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday when it's ours to pick up. Then what we've done right now is if we see it in the week, we're doing our Monday, Wednesday, Friday trash can collection, we'll just pick it up as well. And the problem is we're encouraging behavior because we're saying, oh, let's pick it up, so I'll throw it out again. So it's really hard to control the behavior when we're enabling it by trying to keep downtown clean. So at least the ordinance change I would recommend would at least say if we want to pick it up immediately, we can, if we feel it really is a nuisance. The same ordinance also applies towards if someone your neighbor sets a couch out in their tree lawn to get picked up, well, we can give them 48 hours. We can post it, go knock on the door, say, you got to move this. We're not going to pick that up. Because it's not immediate. It's not like downtown where it's attracting to a neighboring business and it's in the way of pedestrians on the sidewalk or someone trying to open their car door and there's trash bags there. So the only reason I'm putting it there is, I'm proposing that is so we can make that judgment call and say, no, we don't want this downtown. So we're going to make that call that it's objectionable or nuisance or a hazard. It's not to say someone couldn't set something out in the subdivision and we could exercise the same provision because it is a high risk.
The issue, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So with that, what would the fine be on the first offense? If you had a 3-hour call out and you went out and picked up stuff, what would you fine them?
Well, it's a minor misdemeanor, and I don't want to misquote. I don't know if it's $100 or $250. $100. Okay.
Okay, well, what if they do it like 3 weeks in a row?
But
Can we raise it? I mean, at some point,
You can make it 50 the first time, and 75 the next time. and
Here's the
100 next
issue.
time.
Okay, so if it's a minor misdemeanor, then is the police department going to have to come out and write it?
well, we have our code enforcement officer, our community enforcement. We have code enforcement through planning. We have community enforcement through PD, and they would have to be involved, one or the other, to document the violation. If that's the route we go, because in order to change behavior, we're going to have to identify the violator and get to them, or to the building owner, one or the other. If someone has to start paying these things, then they may think twice about allowing their tenants to do that, or the tenant themselves, if that's who gets fined, of setting that trash out there again. If they know they're going to get a $100 fine for it.
It's just that what that requires is the violation to take place. So we're still having the violation take
Mhm.
place, and then we're able to react to it, and then hopefully it
Correct.
dwindles and corrects itself.
Yes.
What about a more preventative solution that, like the other thing that you said, require people who live downtown and those building owners to have a plan for where these people will put trash that doesn't include putting it on the sidewalk?
I think the issue we get in there honestly is that, are we going to apply that then uniformly to all businesses downtown? Because there's other folks that fall in that category of they can only put it out front, good businesses that adhere to the policy. So are we going to be in a sense picking on certain people and saying, we don't like how you practice, or we're going to make you take it out back, but this guy 3 blocks up is fine because they follow the law and only put it out on Monday.
But isn't there a difference between residential and the amount of trash that's produced when you have a building where maybe 6 tenants are versus just one solar solution?
No, some of the businesses can really put a lot of trash out there after a weekend, but they hold it and they put it out when they're supposed to. There could be a lot of trash at times, and some of them have multiple collections during the week, not just on one day. So that's why I go back to what's the issue identifying as a trash on the sidewalk, because there's a lot of trash on the sidewalk. Most people follow the rules.
so would you send that, if we had made that change, would you send that to not only the owner, but the tenant?
We could. The way the language reads now is, I'll read this correctly here. A written notice of such violation to be posted at the site, the violation given the owner, person in charge, tenant, or occupant. So it kind of covers all the bases. It doesn't specifically say who we would levy it against. I think it gives us the ability on residents to go after the person, the violator, the tenant, or the property owner, if we can tie that refuse deposit back to one or the other.
What if we can't?
Then we just pick it up because we can, but like what we do now, if we can't, we do what we do now. We pick it up. Changing the code to allow us to react immediately, though, in the past, while we can't go after people because we don't post it and wait, and no one wants to wait. So we just drop the issue. We just react. This at least allows us the ability to try it and see, can we get to these people? Can we meet with the building owners and the tenants and say, look, here's the deal. If you put trash out there other than your designated day, we're going to try to identify it to you. You're going to be fined for it. So please don't do that.
I don't know how it needs to go, but we've been talking about this for several meetings. I suggest we at least start with this
Yeah.
as some,
We'll pass these out.
and evaluate it for maybe the 6 month period. See if how often we enforce it and whom we enforce it doesn't make it one back. And then we will at least have something that we're doing rather than just talking about it.
Right.
And then we can, because I think the bigger issue is what we're gonna need to do long term is we need to bring an urban planner and figure out what we do is we get more residents downtown.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're gonna need to do because it's trash, it's parking, it's all these things.
Right.
And to try and address just the trash piece of it without looking at the whole picture of what happens when you double or triple the amount of people living downtown.
Exactly. And it's a really good point because parking is, with the residences, parking becomes more of a premium. Violations in parking becomes more of an issue. The difference there is people can post signs, you can tow vehicles and no one wants to be towed. So it's kind of self-correcting,
But
but
there's even no space to do it. I mean, we're not the first city that, I mean,
No.
even the bigger cities, when they start getting more and more residents downtown, they have to come up with ways to make sure that there's sufficient parking and that they're going to do, all the other things.
the interesting, the ordinance was, the last time it was adjusted was at least was 1989. So it's 26 years ago. That's a long time for an ordinance not to be adjusted. So I think with the vibrancy of our downtown, it's probably appropriate to give us a little more teeth in terms of an immediacy to be able to react and then still be able to find. So we can get those cleanups and use our, we have 2 paid positions now through the police department and the planning department to be able to go out there and try to do some enforcement on these things.
Well, Matt had mentioned a chute. Is there a way for these buildings in South Sandusky to put a chute in?
Probably, Jerry could come up with a way that they could put trash chutes, but I'm
I don't know
not,
if these apartments have a
Yeah.
hallway that they go down, if there could be one at the end of the hallway they could always, I don't,
I think it'd be more likely like something out the window because of the way the buildings are. The old buildings just weren't set up with rear access.
right, I know.
And that's
where a
the-
chute might work.
Yeah, so we're dealing with these issues that are we're retrofitting how we live today into a 1900s facade downtown. So there is some issues with it.
Bill, just a couple other thoughts on this when we get together. I'm sure soon you'll get together with Darren.
Yeah,
I would suggest a progressive fine schedule, and second, that we make sure that word gets out to everybody in advance of us beginning enforcement, so we're upfront about what we're going to do.
and it may be, this is one of the big issues, I think, in some places is the tenants putting trash out. But the dumpster issue is also one that can get out of hand too. We're dealing with Joanne on that one and on the same block, and we see it throughout the community downtown. People understand, tenants from all over see these dumpsters as free drop-off points, and heck, you see them in the Meijer and Kroger parking lots and everything else. They use them as the yard sale drop-offs. And it's just the nature of people. And that's why we think we're not going to change the nature of people. So the dumpsters, what I talk to our staff is we may have to be more diligent about if it's a mess around it as part of our service to the community, because we're not private. We're not going to just turn our nose at it. If it's not in the dumpster, we don't pick it up. We're a public service. We can get out of there and we can send guys over and clean that up. Are we going to get paid for it? Ultimately, our time and our overall fee structure will pay for it. But we have the ability to provide that higher level of service in our downtown area if that's what we want to do. And
That's why I'm thinking that a downtown refuse district makes sense.
Yeah.
It kind of is a more comprehensive solution than dealing with spot bags of trash that I have a feeling if I'm smart and I'm putting a bag of trash out by the street, I'm just going to make sure that there's none of my mail in there and I'm good.
Right.
And then there's no recourse at all. It doesn't really solve the problem.
Well, and the fundamental theory of the downtown refuse district is we control everything. So it doesn't matter where it gets dumped, front of the street, back, it's ours to take care of anyways. So we can do that, but in a sense, we'll be inheriting all the refuse issues other than the small ones we're dealing with here. And I don't think we're going to change behavior by doing that. I think we're going to adopt a much larger scale program and take the cost of all that and distribute it somehow among all the businesses. We may find a lot of businesses don't want our service. The other issue is there's some that we can't provide service to because of the nature of, they have to have front loader over the top collection. Rear load machines don't work. We only have rear load. So they have to use a Rumpke or Laidlaw to go in there and do it, private service. So if we did a downtown refuse, in a sense what we'd do is we'd own it all by ordinance, and would still probably contract with some private collection agencies to go out there and empty the dumpsters. We don't want to buy necessarily two $300,000 trucks in order to take it. We would probably contract out that work, and but we control everything, so we could basically say it's all our pricing scheme. And but I still think we'd be out there doing the exact same thing. We got to clean up around this dumpster. We have to clean up around the front here because I don't think we're going to impact the violators. I think part of the growth of downtown, we're going to have violations occur. It's how we react to that is probably more important than trying to get from 95 or 98% to 100%. I don't think we're going to ever stop violation regardless how we structure the collection. I think it's probably more, do we have tools to react quickly and maybe attempt to try to levy some fines? But more importantly is, are we going to use our refuse guys just to clean up when we have to, because we want our downtown to have a good appearance all the time?
So maybe then, I understand why maybe the downtown refuse district doesn't make sense, but what if just doing the fines coupled with requiring the residential buildings to come up with a plan for their refuse with their tenants? I mean, it doesn't have to be by ordinance, but just saying, hey, listen, there's going to be fines, so we strongly encourage you to come up with a place for your residents to put their trash and let them know you're going to
We could
enforce
do
it.
that. One thing we can experiment with is tell
It
them
can't be that hard.
they could combine with a neighboring property that has access and, maybe do a cost share in there, or say you have to participate in the closest city owned receptacle, and we'll pay, each one will pay their monthly fee, but you tell your tenant they have to take it back there and make them more responsible for that. We could try that and see what kind of reaction we get out of those properties that have tenants.
I'd be in favor of
Extract
that.
has a dumpster behind theirs, and they share it with 3 or 5 buildings.
I think it's the open way.
Opus Subway and them, okay? They picked it up this morning. It's full tonight with white trash bags, which nobody uses, with car seats. There's a teddy bear. It's so full, there's stuff around it. It was picked up this morning. So I don't know. She said, I don't mind paying for these 3, but I don't want to pay for this whole block.
Right. See, but
Without
it would
putting
make
a lock
sense
on
that the people that live in that building don't really have a place to put their trash. So they're only getting a pickup once a week?
Well, they pay for the once a week service that
Right.
we do, but we're picking up, anytime we see something on the sidewalk, we'll pick it up anyways. On
This
Monday.
is behind the
So,
dumpster.
I mean, imagine like you're throwing away your leftover steak and it's sitting in your apartment for a week.
Right.
Bill, that may be a twice a week pickup.
I think it's just one, but we talked about trying to do multiple on that big one at the alley. Yeah, we can check, but I think what you're saying is if we want to require properties that have tenants above the building business space, because of the issue of, the turnover rate and, less involved in the downtown, say you have to have a physical location. You have to buy one somewhere and make your tenants aware of it. That's where they have to take the trash. That in combination with giving us some more teeth might be effective in trying to change the tide a little bit on this.
That's what I would.
I think that makes sense. And the other thing that may result from that is we may have to pick those dumpsters up more often because we've got a lot more people using them. Or have more dumpsters or whatever the solution. I think that makes sense. Will you prepare something?
Yep, I'll do that. So we talked about progressive fines.
Would you start at 50, 75, and 100?
I think it's gonna have to start with probably the minor misdemeanor is at 100.
It's maximum fine.
Yeah, and then do a second offense and third, like a second offense might be there's more than one minor misdemeanor classification, if I'm correct.
I know there's one misdemeanor and there's enforcement.
Okay.
I think to make this an enforced, that involves jail time. I think if you structure it where it's $50 the first time and $75 the second time, and $100 every time thereafter. I don't know, most people, I'm not gonna keep paying that money, I'm gonna do something else with my trash, you know?
So I can talk to Karen about how to structure that part of it as well. And then we'll try to get some meetings with the building owners and talk about requiring them to have receptacle dumpster access. Provide that for their tenants, so tenants have a place, so they don't have to violate the rules.
So this block I know is the worst. Do we have anything up the apartments above, I'm down here on this block? Are they all good? Like the ones above the antique store? What do they do with their trash?
Which block?
Oh, man, this block down here.
North Sandusky?
Yeah, above,
This way.
wherever I am, I'm all confused. That way, thank you.
Till this out of
Yeah, I don't know. I can't honestly say that.
You do have any trouble over there?
Yep. We haven't had calls about it. I can't say that people haven't violated, but I don't
I
know
don't
if we've
think
had
the
any citizens.
guys say much about, other than the block.
Well, I know the apartments above Amados, they have keys to the dumpster behind the Amados. All of Blackwell's have the key
Right.
to that dumpster, so they all use
So they
it.
have private dumpster access then.
Right.
So I think what you're basically saying is if you have second and third floor tenants, you have private dumpster access. We don't want them using the street because we have no recourse then to.
And if they're willing to lock it and use it, that's ideal.
Yeah.
But when we put the dumpster in the North Franklin Street parking lot, we give all those businesses keys. Lasted about a week. They forget to take their key out, it's too much trouble to unlock it. So they took the lock off. I don't think we have trouble with that one. But that's mostly businesses that use that one.
Yeah, I would think if they have a building where there's tenants, that they need to provide some place for that trash to go.
Okay.
I think Josie Posey's and Sherwin, I think they all use that dumpster, right? All that Blackwell owns, use that one.
So do you want to bring this issue back to this committee first with these, or do you want to work on revisions to the ordinance and progressive fines and let us talk with some of the building owners regarding dumpster access? I'm not sure, what I'm not sure about is do we have to modify our ordinance to put requirements in there for downtown business district to require dumpster access? If we have to codify that.
That's a better question for Darren.
I got to talk to Darren about that too.
My guess is by the time you do all that and talk to business owners, it's gonna be 3 months.
So we won't bring it back here. I can do that.
But we don't want this to drag on and on and on.
Right.
No, and
If you
then
get it
let's do
done
something.
sooner, send us a message and we can get it before
Yeah.
council.
And in the meantime, we're trying to be a lot more proactive, just do the right thing and go clean it up, even though, like I said, it's not correcting the behavior, but
But you're right.
we're trying to keep downtown clean.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, why do we need to talk to the business owners? Can't we just, if we just made the change, I mean, then we talk to them? I mean, it's almost like we're asking permission to make a
We want to
change.
get their input so we, rather than just impose something on them, they may have a better idea of how to do it. I would prefer to get their input.
Okay,
We need a solution, they can't say no, but let's collaboratively come up with the best one.
Because we
Work for different businesses.
there may be a lot of people who have tenants above that are doing everything right, and have dumpster access or not having problems. We don't want to necessarily get someone
Right.
kind of ticked off that, they'll, and then say, well, we didn't mean you. We want to make sure we know exactly who we're dealing with.
well, okay, let's say this, if it does need an ordinance change, we can just send it right to council, right? That way it doesn't take 3 months and then have us recommend.
Yeah, if you get everything together before 3 months, that's great.
Okay,
Well, how about if we can research this with Darren, I can get back through email, and you can decide whether you want it definitely to come back, or we can, right now, we can plan on it coming back. And I'll present it to you, say, no, send that on to council
Yeah.
directly,
That
and we can deal with it that way.
great, thank you.
That way we can keep it moving forward.
Anything further on discussion of downtown Long Beach? Item 10, staff comments.
I think we've had plenty.
We haven't heard much from you. Anything?
I'm good.
Brad, anything else from you guys?
I just want to thank you all for working so hard to get the streets all cleaned up for the 4th of July parade. I know it was a challenge to get all the contractors to get all their stuff off and the asphalt put in and the cones and all that, so thank you. I had several people like, how are we gonna have a parade with all Sandusky clips? So,
One comment, I think our fireworks is the best fireworks in Central Ohio, given that we can't compete with Light and Boom. We have the best display in Central Ohio, right here in Delaware.
Agree.
Absolutely, hands down.
Yeah, it was rocking last night. That was a good one.
Even with the mosquitoes.
Even with the-
yeah, but I'd like them guys to come forward next Monday and recognize them and thank them.
I think it'd be appropriate. Yeah.
I just have one quick question. On a little tiny side street in my neighborhood called Boswell, I noticed that there are actual weeds growing between where that little piece of concrete next to the curb is and the actual road. I'm wondering how in the world does that
Oh,
happen?
you'd be surprised. Oh, yeah, it's just, I mean, see, the grass can push up through asphalt.
Okay,
Yeah.
Or it can, the wind can
Yeah.
blow the seed around it, it
Yeah,
can,
yes.
water can carry it.
okay, so that's not gonna hurt the road.
Oh, yeah, ultimately.
Yes.
Okay.
Take your little roundup over there,
Yeah.
take care of it.
I saw them kind
Yeah.
of, there's no cars that really park there, so they're kind of getting tall. And it's like, are there weeds growing in the road?
I think, I think it was Howard Park. With the wet, I think we had weeds coming right through the parking lot, or no, it was the bikeway. The sidewalk, they come right through the middle of it. They're
Yeah.
really tough weeds from farm, when it's cultivated farm. And they come right through the middle of pavement. They push their way up through anything. So, yeah, so you see a lot in some of the streets where there's not a lot of traffic. The traffic's great because it knocks them down, but if you see them, get your roundup out. Take care of them.
That's it.
My other comment is just kind of a general one. We've talked about what you're doing downtown with the stripes you pick it up. And Matt's been busting his butt, working hard to work with BIA to get some, common ground there. And in the winter, the snow picks up. I mean, we really have a great staff that does a great job. And I hope people realize how good you guys are at what you do. I certainly appreciate it. When we do have problems, we get a hold of somebody and man, it's taken care of. So to all of you. hats off. Thank you
Absolutely,
very much.
absolutely.
Thank you very much.
I think we'll pass that on to the troops.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if we got a recorder, we could just play it in the.
Move to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.